Green Spring. Today is it's Monday, January 11th, 2016. And I'm Fran Duval, your host for today. Happy to be here yet again this month with Ben Cornthwaite, our executive director. Hello, Ben.
Good morning, Fran.
Are you ready to take calls?
I'm ready.
We're always ready, but, in case they don't call.
I hope people picked up their cup of coffee as you had indicated and are fully caffeinated and ready to go.
Right. But always I know you come with certain announcements or whatever. Somebody says we have a call, but already we have a call.
All right.
What do we push? Speaker.
Yes.
Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, I was wondering, we were very anxious to know, Ben, if Santa Claus found your new house.
Yes, Santa Claus did in fact find the new house, and my kids are at such a fun age. I have 4 young children at home, Bella, who's 11 years old, and Cameron, who just recently turned 10. He was born 2 days after Christmas. And then Carrington, my 6-year-old, and Easton, my 2-year-old. Believe it or not, they're all still fitting into the column of "We Believe in Santa." So we had our work cut out for us this year with the older kids. I think are on high suspicion alert. But yeah, Santa was able to find us here in Virginia, and so it was great to be home for the holidays and not have to have the headache of travel logistics and everything else that come along with that. So my family and my wife's family all live right in the immediate local area, so it makes getting together for the holidays quite an easy event. So it was great. Yeah.
Oops. Okay. You're on the air.
Okay, my second question is...
Sorry, we hung up on you.
Sorry about that.
About the elevators in Village Square. We've had 3 directors tell us about the elevator in Village Square, and we have yet to see an elevator. Are we going to see one in my lifetime?
I'm going to keep my fingers crossed on this one, but in all sincerity, we've got some design plans that are underway for the Village Square elevator project. And to be very candid with you, until we have a design that works, it won't move forward. And right now, I think what started off as an effort to benefit from the synergy of the existing elevator shaft, there's some mechanical functions that tying in the elevator to be immediately adjacent to the existing elevator in Village Square, we would be able to benefit from some of the mechanical operations of the existing shaft. And theoretically in that process, we were saving a substantial amount of money associated with that. Well, unfortunately, where that elevator goes then forces kind of a domino factor of other changes that have to happen within the clubhouse space. And to be very blunt, I'm not convinced that we're necessarily saving money by doing it in that very fashion. So the further that we've gotten into the planning project, the more and more change that has to be impacted. And frankly, whether it's dollars and cents or whether it's just the magnitude of that change, I'm not so sure that we're up for that as a community. And so I want to, although we have a design set that we worked with various kind of user groups, resident user groups to evaluate. So we worked with, some of the puzzle team and some of the card players and some of the pool players. We worked with some of the musical entertainment crowd. And then we worked with, obviously some of the internal work teams of dining services and resident life and some of the other teams to evaluate what the existing design is for today. So although, it's a work in progress, one of the things that I've recently thought about is, should we really go back and make sure that that we're truly benefiting from the plan as we originally set out to do? The alternative would be to explore relocating the elevator from where it's currently being planned next to the immediate one, further to the other side of the lobby or closer to the wooded area, for example, that would be able to be independent. Now, that would be very desirable, I think, for some residents. We took some flack early on in unveiling the initial design to say concentrating those two together is just going to create a bottleneck when
There's already a bottleneck there.
Right.
So,
right. So it very well may be wise to evaluate that. So really, until we have a design that works effectively for the community, I'm not willing to put it forward and just for the sake of doing it. So I know it's frustrating to some to have it, continue to linger on. It's frustrating for me too, but I want to make sure that we get to the right result instead of an expedient result.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
For the Green Spring players, certainly every show,
Indeed.
we have bottleneck at that elevator right now.
Right. And
And
that's obviously one thing that we would want to plan around with any special project is
Yeah, in
kind of
May.
what the,
Don't do it in
the
May.
theater schedule is. Sure.
Be nice to have it done before May, but I know that isn't going to happen.
Yeah, the magnitude of what is planned to be addressed right now. I mean, when you think of it, the elevator is planned to go where the Cubbies are today. The Cubbies then would have to relocate over to the billiards room. The billiards room and some of that function would then relocate over into what is now a screened-in porch. That area would be conditioned with HVAC and closed in with windows so that it would be a part of the open lobby. The existing cards room would then, change to where the door is currently entering into it, to where the door would enter or exit off onto the hallway side. So you can just see this domino factors, and I'm also highly sensitive to have heard feedback from residents in the time frame that I've been here to say, we don't like change very much. That sounds like a whole lot of change in that project that I'm a little bit leery of, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Well,
So.
good for you.
There's the answer. I'm not sure that that's the popular one, but I think that's.
Can you
in
tell
truth
me
where it stands.
tell me what they're actually doing above my apartment in Maple Creek? I mean, I'm on the top floor.
Yep.
And I know. Tell me what they're doing.
Sure.
With all that's
Insulation.
going on in the last couple weeks.
Sure. So this is what you're referencing is the insulation project that will eventually come to every residential building.
All right.
And more or less what they're doing is peeling off the top skin of the roof in order to access the areas that we have high risk area of wind and cold weather basically getting inside of our building envelope. So if you think about the building envelope, think about it as a warm blanket that wraps around the entire building to keep the interior building conditioned, whether it's hot or cold. And if there are penetrations in that envelope, then it's like having holes in your blanket and trying to stay nice and snug. So so that top area is accessing the attic space from above. So as they peel the skin of the roof back, they can get in and create an insulation blanket on top that allows for that that building, the interior building to be conditioned.
Okay.
So
they're not really replacing the roof.
well, they have to pull up. It's about, I want to say it's a 4 or 6 foot section of the roof that they peel up all along the entire perimeter of the residential building. And in doing that, then the insulation team comes in and puts in some spray foam insulation, and then the roofers have to put the decking back, and they put the tar paper back down, and then put the shingles back on top of it.
Okay.
And so it's quite a project.
Because I have one of those porches that's recessed and has a, one of the water things up in the ceiling.
Yeah.
No, it isn't in the ceiling. It's coming out of the wall, I think. I don't think it's in the ceiling of the porch.
Either
but
way,
anyhow,
there's both conditions.
and so since I know other people in the winter have had issues with things from that sprinkler not, making a mess.
Right.
I wanted to know if they were fixing that for me, and I wouldn't ever have to have that problem.
So there's really 3 components associated with this project. One is to do the insulation blanket like what's happening today.
Right.
There's 2 other components that the studying work is underway, and basically this involves evaluating the entire existing fire suppression system. So that one sprinkler head that juts out on your recessed porch or balcony has significant consequence if we move that pipe, say for example, to the interior of the unit even further.
I see.
And in order to do that, there's an impact to the rest of the suppression system down the line just to relocate that pipe. So before we do something and jeopardize the entire building, we're working with a suppression engineer to redesign basically the existing fire suppression system so that we can effectively move the piping that are in those risk-prone positions. So there's really two predominant areas that those are affected. One is the recessed balcony, and the second are the boxed bay windows.
Yes.
And both of those pipes are too close to the building envelope, to which there's freezing capability associated with that. And so that's the work that has been underway really since last May. The study began. Yeah. So
they haven't reached Maple Creek yet to do that.
No, and in fact, that hasn't even begun on campus because the studying is still underway. That likely won't happen until this year, but the work probably won't even be complete until fall of this year. So we're going through the winter with with some backup plans in place to address risk mitigation in the event that becomes necessary. So what does that look like? Well, you and I are monitoring the cold weather, right? And so sustained cold, freezing temperatures, we've got additional actions that we can take to hopefully proactively mitigate any leak or sprinkler pipe
I could go out and do my hair dryer on it.
You may, but I'm worried.
To keep it warm.
I'm worried that might also burst the cylinder in itself.
Oops.
So don't do that, please. But
Ben, and talking about these projects around the campus, just this morning, one of the staff here asked about the lights that are in the hallways going in from
Maple Creek and Forest
View. Are those the same kind of? Will those lights go into other areas, or are they just for that area? Tell me about that.
So it's kind of both. So the purpose in putting them in Maple Creek and Forest View was to inform future life cycle renovations of future hallways. We're not going backwards and redoing lights anywhere, but that was intended to be that way. There was a pretty significant reaction from residents following the installation of those lights, and I want to hold for now before we commit whether those are moving forward or not, just to see how they work out. Without a doubt, it was significant change for residents. And I want to remind you and other residents that might be watching that the way we led to the fixture that we installed was through resident input. So we had installed 3 different fixtures along one of the hallways in Maple Creek and solicited resident feedback associated with that. And the fixture that was installed, was hands down, almost a 10-to-1, preference from residents. As we then installed it, we got, whoa, these are too bright. This is, what are you guys, knuckleheads? So at this stage, I really want to see how things, shape up and whether or not that's the right product for us moving forward in the future life cycle renovations.
Right. And also, we heard that that those lights would be motion sensitive. Is that true or not?
So motion sensitive, probably not with the existing
Not with
setup.
those big bright ones overhead.
Right. You may be referencing dimmable. There is a dimmability feature associated with it, but frankly, it is extraordinarily expensive.
I see.
I.e., probably about $60,000 to do one hallway associated with dimming those light fixtures. So I just don't think that would be a wise financial decision for the community to embark in that manner. So for right now, the existing condition is brighter. And intentionally so. We did a lighting engineering study before the installation, and the foot candles that are being broadcast now are really what's appropriate for the environment that we have here. So it's significantly brighter, however, from the other hallways, and it's noticeable that way.
Yeah, it is. And I do think, to beat a dead horse, had the arches not been removed, there wouldn't be that effect of this long stretch of these bright, the arches would have toned that down.
Maybe.
I really think that architecturally it would have been.
I have shared with, I'm not sure if I've mentioned it on Village in Motion, but I've shared with residents that the archways that we have historically taken down as part of the life cycle renovations, that our intention moving forward is not to do that.
Yeah.
So the only reason that we did it in Maple Creek and Forest View was to maintain the same consistent look for all Main Street floors. But for future life cycle hallways, our intention would not be to remove
Yeah.
them. There's expense involved in it, number one, but there's also architectural beauty
Yeah.
that is
Right.
potentially being taken away by doing that as well.
Yeah. You know, talking about dimming lights, I know even now in the hallway I live on, if I decide at 2 o'clock in the morning I forgot to put the trash out, so I open the door, it's very dim in the hallway
Yeah.
now. I mean, the hallways are dim
Sure.
now. The current, this is the old stuff, not the new stuff.
Yeah, so our building control system that we can turn down lights and HVAC in public areas, and we'll control some of that. So, and basically it goes off at a predetermined time. It's like
Right.
having a timer,
Right.
on your light switches that goes off after hours
Yeah.
and then comes back on early in the morning, so that we're saving energy
Right.
as part
Sure.
of that. So,
And that's important.
and that still exists
Yeah.
with these new lights as well.
So you're having an event tomorrow.
We are. We're doing a fireside chat at Woodland Skies, and that's going to be at 10 a.m. Here in Woodland Skies at
In
Village
the
Square.
dining room?
In the dining room.
And when you're saying Woodland Sky, you mean the dining room?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And the intent of this is, we launched Signature Dining here in Woodland Skies almost 2 months ago, and with that, we wanted to, now that people have had a chance to see and experience the program, to open up some dialogue with residents to say what's working, what do you like, what do you not like, and so what are some things that we may potentially need to fine tune or work on for improvement purposes. So
They still need to put coleslaw back on the luncheon menu. Listen, speaking of that, will you be addressing rumors? I'm talking about rumors.
I'm glad to.
And the replacement of any. Okay. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Ben. This is Sancha Paskin calling from Canterbury Square. Before you get on the subject off the subject of insulation, is there any update at all on when the windows will be installed in Canterbury Square, the new ones? I am so sick still of the drafts and having to put towels on the windows and the draft generally. It's not that I haven't tried to do everything I could in the past. I have, but there's no resolution to it.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Ms. Paskin. And as it relates to the windows, what Ms. Paskin is referencing is, as part of our 2016 budget, we had asked the board for consideration for funds adequate enough to replace windows in one neighborhood in 2016. And so the special projects team right now is evaluating what makes most sense. What neighborhood do we begin with? You always have to start somewhere and you end somewhere. And but what we're trying to do is to look at the existing condition of existing windows to inform us where we begin. Logically, neighborhood 1 are the oldest windows, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're in the worst condition for that. And so we want to to have better science associated with that before that decision is made. But we'll keep residents abreast of that decision in the community through our coffee sessions on a monthly basis, so that people will know what to expect and when to expect it.
In the meantime, if it rains, she just has to put towels at her window.
Well, unfortunately, I think if there's rain that comes in, I would highly recommend notifying our general services team, because there can be fine-tune and tweaks with those windows to an extent that has been quite successful in other apartment homes. And so the window vendor can make some adjustments, both for draftiness as well as for obviously any water penetration that may come in to mitigate that before they're even replaced.
I hope that answers her question. Here's another call. Hello, you're on the air.
It's me
Oh, it's
again.
you again. Oh,
Cut off.
I'm
So
sorry.
I can't respond. So now I can. It's not to do with the rain coming in. It's just the
Draftiness.
bitterly cold ice outside. The coldness. It drenches the inside of the window.
Oh dear.
It's nothing to do with rain coming in.
Right.
It's just the freezing cold and
Yeah.
the drafts.
Yeah. So if it's coming in through the seal, Ms. Paskin, that's something that can be dealt with.
Well, it never has
Okay. Well, I would, if it's, again, if it's penetrating through the seal, have the general services team evaluate that. But if it's just simply the thickness of the window itself is, has a lower, efficiency rating, say for example, than a new window would, that's something that obviously wouldn't be addressed until the replacement would occur. But if there is a particular other issue, just with draftiness and how the seal, the frame is actually put into the building itself, that is something potentially that could be mitigated today.
Would that be done outside of the windows or inside or both?
I'm not the window expert, but I'm going to imagine it's both.
Yeah. Any particular person I should contact?
General Services.
In General Services?
Just call General Services and they can help you directly from there.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Ben.
My pleasure. Enjoy the day.
You too. Bye-bye.
So we were talking
about the dining room.
Yeah.
The rumor that they were going to replace the tables in the dining room of Woodland Skies. Is that in the works, or
There's
what?
been a number of tables that have been replaced in Woodland Skies already.
Okay.
And what we were trying to accomplish with this is taking out the larger tables, both for two reasons. One is it's difficult for residents to sit at a 7-top table and be able to have communication
Absolutely.
and converse. Secondly, it's also a nightmare for the wait staff to wait on that large of a table, and then others within their section. So we're really trying to look at swapping out. We'll still have some 7-top tables, but to use more 4-tops to be able to provide better
Because you
service for
could
the
put
residents.
4 tops together for a large group if
That's right.
they reserved it or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so these are refurbished tables that we had previously for our card rooms.
Okay.
So as you remember, dating back, we had card tables that we had ordered new and that were too tall, the legs.
They're still too tall.
So those legs actually just came in this past week and are being installed. I believe they're being installed this week.
Oh, that's terrific.
And so those old tables will then go in and help to supplement out these large tables in the dining rooms.
Okay.
But they're being refinished.
Refinished,
so
yeah.
that they're in much better condition than they were. Yeah.
Are we having our wood shop refinish them?
We tried. The amount of time that it takes. It would take them an unreasonable amount of time.
I see.
And they're moving fast. It just takes a while. So we sent it out to a company that can do 15 at a time instead of 1 or 2 at a time.
Sure, right. That's
So,
exactly right.
A couple of other things I wanted to share with you. As we close out a year and begin a new year, it's always a nice time to kind of reflect on successes and missed opportunities potentially in 2015, but then also to look forward at 2016 of what are our top priorities and what are we going to be focusing in on. And so I wanted to share with you just a couple of areas that I've talked about with my team that are going to be focuses for the executive team moving forward into 2016. So in no particular order, there's really 5 key priorities. And the first is building resident confidence. And I think in general, resident satisfaction is a very important function for me and the rest of the community. And I think it's goes beyond just satisfaction. It's do everyday residents have a sense of confidence in what's going on campus, decisions that are being made, that their voice and their input is being heard. And so I'd like for us to spend more time ensuring that that's the case in 2016. So and the way that I'll know we're successful with this is that residents will be able to highly recommend Green Spring. There's times where I've bumped into residents to say, I just won't recommend Green Spring. And to me, that's unfortunate. But I also see that as an opportunity to change the opinion of that person through good action and good work that will allow them to comfortably feel a sense of recommendation. And secondly, to make sure that Green Spring will never be a perfect place. But I want to make sure that residents also have optimism and an optimistic view of the key issues in the community are being dealt with competently and in a manner that is inclusive with residents, so that we're constantly moving forward. So whatever those key issues are that are facing us, that we've got action plans associated with addressing those and hopefully delivering those in a better place. A second key priority is with project planning. We've got a lot of projects that run throughout the community, and at times it feels that there's some clarity, I think, that residents are seeking, or even that we as management team members are seeking with these projects. What gets prioritized high versus what's kind of on the back burner, and how are we keeping that dialogue open with residents in the community. So I want to do a better job with that in 2016. Thirdly, sound business acumen, so making sure that we're prudent with decisions that we make here in the community. It doesn't mean we look to cut costs. It just simply means that we look to efficiently operate the community so that we're mindful that every dollar we spend here in the community, we're spending a resident's dollar. And I want to make sure that we continue to take that very seriously, and that we're only spending money where necessary to improve the operation or the outcomes here within the community. Leveraging the full continuum of care, a core differentiator about that really distinguishes Green Spring relative to other competition here in the local area is our integrated healthcare. And so making sure that we're taking advantage of that and leveraging that to the fullest extent to provide residents with great service, whatever their needs may be. And then lastly, looking to develop team members here on campus, and specifically developing leadership talent. We've got some good talent in positions that help to make Green Spring run the way that it runs, but I also think that our depth behind that key talent is not where it should be, or not where I'd like for it to be. And so I want to make sure that we're continuing to invest in our employees here today and creating development plans for them to be future leaders here on campus for us as well. And that way, if and when there is change that happens, that we don't miss a beat, for the delivery of service to our residents. When you have great talent behind leadership, it just means that it's the next person to step up that will assume that responsibility if and when there's ever change at those ranks. So.
And we do hate change when some of our favorite employees they're going out to Ashby Pond, or they're going, it's like, what?
Yeah, I'm hoping to pave a two-way street between Ashby Ponds and Green Spring now, so that we're able to benefit from some of the fruits of their labor too.
Good. That's terrific.
Yeah, so those are some of the key priorities, and there's lots of other details. Don't be fooled to say those are the only areas that we're going to focus on, but to me, those are some really critical things for us in 2016 to continue to make life at Green Spring, both for residents that live here and for employees that work here, to make sure that we're continuing to focus on all the priorities that are needed.
Well, it's certainly encouraging to hear that.
Sure.
Especially the confidence building aspect that residents, we've been through a few rocky episodes
We have.
The last number of years, and it does make one cautious.
Sure.
So I'm happy to hear that.
Yep.
How's our census? Are we okay?
We continue to do very, very well there. So, we have, I think, 15 apartment homes that are available.
Wow.
Here in the community, which, that's 98.4%, I believe, is
only
our
like one per building or something.
Right, is our current occupancy. So, we do very well in that respect. We have to continue to remain focused on that, because any significant variation of occupancy can have a large impact here in the community, and we want to make sure that stays fresh that way. But the sales team continues to do a great job. They beat their targets last year by more than 28 settlements, which is great.
That's good.
And they added an additional 300 residents to the priority list in 2015. So people really want to continue to move into Green Spring and find the lifestyle that we offer.
Well,
here
I still recommend it.
Thank you. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the biggest salespeople in the community are our residents. And I want to make sure that you and others feel in very good faith the ability to recommend our community. And if not, frankly, I would challenge those individuals to work with key leaders here in the community to identify what's the obstacle to that level of recommendation. And if there's something that we can do about it, we want to do that.
Yeah. Sometimes it's whatever's going on in their life.
It is.
That doesn't necessarily affect here.
Sure.
Well, I think we're just about there, and this has been a very working session here today. I'm glad so many callers called in and took advantage of that.